There comes a moment in every life when the quiet whisper inside you becomes louder than the noise around you. It's the moment when you finally face the truth that nothing changes until you decide to change it. And not tomorrow, not next week, not when life finally settles down, because it never does. The moment is now. The invitation is now to step into the life you keep imagining but never fully stepping toward. To force yourself gently, lovingly, firmly into the structure that your future self is begging you to build. Most people believe organization is about planners, calendars, and color-coded lists, but that's only the surface. True organization begins in the invisible world first. It begins with energy, with intention, with the spiritual decision that your life is worthy of order, worthy of clarity, worthy of peace, because the outer world is always a reflection of the inner one. If your mind is tangled, your environment will be tangled. If your thoughts are scattered, your days will be scattered. If your priorities drift, your life drifts. So when I say force yourself to organize your life, understand that I'm not talking about a harsh self-punishment. I'm speaking of a sacred discipline, a compassionate alignment, a declaration to the universe that you're ready to participate in your own unfolding. You weren't born to live in chaos, to constantly feel like you're catching up, to drown in unfinished tasks or abandoned dreams. You were designed for flow, you were crafted for clarity. But clarity requires courage, the courage to look at your life honestly, to stop excusing the mess as temporary, to stop hiding behind the belief that you'll get to it someday. Someday is a thief. Someday steals dreams more quietly than fear ever could. And that's why you must take charge today. Not because your life is broken, but because it is waiting for you to step forward. Waiting for you to say, I'm ready to live intentionally. I'm ready to create order where I once tolerated disorder. Organization is not about perfection. It's not about turning yourself into a rigid system of rules. It's about removing what blocks your energy so you can live in harmony with your purpose. When your outer world is organized, your inner world breathes easier. You think clearer. You move with purpose. You speak with intention. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop surviving and start living. But here's the truth. Your life will not organize itself. You cannot manifest order through hope alone. You must participate in the miracle. You must pick up the pen, the broom, the plan, the boundary, the decision. You must be willing to do what is uncomfortable in the moment so you can experience what is extraordinary later. Discipline is simply remembering who you want to become. And forcing yourself to get organized is simply choosing not to betray that future version of you. There is a quiet power that rises in you the moment you decide that your excuses no longer have authority. You begin to see that most of the chaos you experience didn't come from outside forces. It came from delays, from avoidance, from believing you had endless time. But life is humming right now. It's unfolding now. Every day you postpone order. You postpone the version of yourself who is capable, focused, grounded, peaceful. Organization is not about control, it's about liberation. When your life is structured, your spirit is free. Think about how much energy disorganization steals from you. Energy wasted searching for what you misplaced. Energy drained from juggling what you procrastinated. Energy lost in clutter, physical, mental, emotional. That is energy that could have been used to write the book you keep imagining, to develop the business you dream about, to nurture the relationships that matter, to strengthen the spiritual connection you crave. When you organize your life, you are reclaiming your energy from everything that doesn't deserve it. And yes, it takes effort, real effort. You won't always feel inspired. Some days you will feel resistance so strong it convinces you to stay the same. But here is where the teachings of inner discipline matter most. You move anyway, you clean anyway, you plan anyway, you simplify anyway, you follow through anyway. Inspiration is a luxury, commitment is a necessity. If you wait until you feel like organizing your life, you'll wait until your life passes you by. Force yourself, not harshly but intentionally, to take the steps that your higher self already knows are required. Every organized life begins with a single decision: enough. Enough tolerating the piles, the procrastination, the mental heaviness. Enough living in reaction rather than creation. Enough letting your days run you. You reclaim your life by reclaiming your order. Start with the small things, because small things are not small, they are symbolic. When you clean a drawer, you're not just sorting objects, you're declaring that you value clarity. When you delete old files, you're not just freeing storage, you're freeing mental space. When you create a list for the day, you're not just organizing tasks, you're setting the tone for your mind. Every small act of organization is a spiritual message. I am preparing my life for alignment. I am preparing myself to receive. Chaos repels what is meant for you. Order invites it. Look closely at the people who live with intention. They are not more gifted than you. They simply choose their future self more often than their comfort. They choose discipline over distraction. They choose clarity over chaos. They choose structure over scatter. Every time you force yourself to organize, when you'd rather relax, when you'd rather scroll, when you'd rather ignore, you are choosing the life you want instead of the life you've been tolerating. And let's be honest, clutter is rarely about the items or the tasks. It's about postponing decisions. The unorganized life is a collection of delayed choices, delayed boundaries, delayed commitments. When you organize your life, you are really organizing your mind. You are strengthening the muscle of decision-making. You are telling yourself that you are capable of handling the things you once avoided. You are proving that you can create order from the inside out. There is a sacred transformation that happens the moment you begin. Not when you finish, when you begin. Because beginning requires faith. Beginning requires a shift in identity. Beginning means stepping into the energy of, I am someone who creates structure, not someone who drifts through my days. And as soon as you make that shift, you start attracting experiences that match this new identity. Opportunities that once seemed distant suddenly appear. Solutions that felt complicated now feel manageable. Your confidence rises not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. Understand this. Organization is a form of self-respect. When you take responsibility for the structure of your life, you are sending a message to yourself and to the universe. I am worthy of order. I am worthy of clarity. I am worthy of living in a space that reflects my potential. You stop tolerating what drains you. You stop entertaining what distracts you. You stop accepting the version of yourself that settles for chaos. And you step into the version that honors the gift of your life. Your home, your schedule, your finances, your dreams, they are all mirrors. And those mirrors will show you exactly where you are aligned and where you are not. Don't judge yourself when you see the truth. That's not the point. The point is awareness. Awareness gives you power. Awareness gives you choice. Awareness gives you the ability to transform. When you know what needs attention, you can give it. When you know what needs to be released, you can let it go. When you know what needs to be built, you can start building. There is beauty in the process. Do not rush it. Do not fear it. Let it unfold. Let it shape you. Organization is an act of love, not labor. It is a way of saying, my life matters enough to give it structure. My dreams matter enough to give them space. My peace matters enough to protect it. And each time you return to the task, even when you slip, even when you fall behind, even when old patterns try to pull you back, you are strengthening your commitment to yourself. Because this journey is not about never slipping, it's about never surrendering. Not to the clutter, not to the overwhelm, not to the belief that you can't change, you can. And the proof is in your willingness to start again, reorganize again, recommit again. What you'll discover is that organization doesn't just change your environment, it changes the frequency you live in. It changes the way you speak, the way you walk, the way you make decisions, the way you view yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone who reacts to life and begin seeing yourself as someone who shapes it. You start feeling proud of yourself, not for perfection, but for intention, for effort, for honoring your future self, even when your present self resisted. Organization creates momentum. Momentum creates confidence. Confidence creates transformation. And transformation creates a life that feels like harmony rather than chaos. And so you force yourself, not out of punishment, but out of purpose. Not to become someone else, but to uncover who you really are beneath the clutter, beneath the avoidance, beneath the noise. Because beneath it all, you've always known that your life feels better when it is in order. You've always felt the lightness that comes with a clean space, the clarity that rises when your tasks are mapped out, the confidence that blooms when you follow through on the promises you make to yourself. But somewhere along the way, the world convinced you that organization is a chore, something heavy, something restrictive. Yet the truth is the opposite. Disorder is what traps you. Clarity is what frees you. Every part of you is longing for that freedom, that expansiveness, that sense of being aligned within your own life. When you force yourself to organize your life, you are not adding more weight, you are removing it. You are clearing mental fog that you've carried for years. You are releasing the anxiety that grows in environments where nothing has a place and everything is delayed. You are stepping out of the cycle of overwhelm that has kept you feeling smaller than you actually are. You are stepping into the power of preparation, the power of structure, the power of choosing calm over chaos. And when you step into that power, something remarkable begins to happen. You start trusting yourself more deeply than before, more consistently than before, or effortlessly than before. Because trust is built through action, not intention. Every time you organize one corner of your life, no matter how small, you are sending yourself the message, you can rely on me. I keep my word, I follow through. And that message is more transformative than any external affirmation could ever be. Trust in yourself becomes the foundation upon which everything else rises. Your goals stop feeling like distant fantasies because you now see yourself as someone capable of carrying them. Your dreams stop feeling overwhelming because your mind is no longer weighed down with clutter and confusion. Your days flow with more ease because the structure you create becomes the invisible support system that holds you upright. But it starts with one decision: to take responsibility for the space you inhabit and the energy you bring into it. This responsibility is not a burden, it is a privilege. It is your invitation to participate consciously in your own life, rather than watching it pass by in a blur of disarray. The moment you accept this responsibility, you step into a higher level of existence, not because you become perfect, but because you become intentional. Understand this: the universe responds to order. It responds to clarity. It responds to direction. When your life is disorganized, your signal to the universe is fragmented. It's like speaking in incomplete sentences and expecting someone to understand your message. But when you organize your life, you send a clear message: I am ready, I am prepared, I am aligned. And the universe responds by aligning with you. Even the small tasks matter. The dishes in the sink, the clothes on the chair, the unread messages you keep ignoring, these may seem insignificant, but they are symbolic. They represent moments of postponed responsibility. Take care of them. You are not just cleaning, you are reclaiming the authority you once gave away to avoidance. Organization is spiritual, it is emotional, it is psychological, it is physical. And these layers work together beautifully. When you clear physical clutter, emotional clarity follows. When you schedule your days with intention, your mind becomes calmer. When you track your habits, your growth becomes measurable. When you align your environment with your goals, you begin attracting experiences that match that energy. You cannot expect prosperity in a space that isn't prepared for it. You cannot expect creativity in a mind that is overwhelmed. You cannot expect peace in an environment that reflects chaos. So you organize, not because you want control, but because you desire alignment. There is power in the act of placing your life in order. It is an act of respect. It is an act of claiming your life back from all the distractions that once controlled it. Everything in your life that is unorganized is calling your name, asking for completion. And as long as it remains unfinished, It drains you, even if you don't realize it. But the moment you attend to it, the moment you address it, the moment you bring it into order, you feel a surge of energy return to you. Life becomes lighter, thoughts become clearer, decisions become easier, the path ahead becomes visible. And yet, the mind will resist. It will tell you that it's too much, too overwhelming, too tiring. It will try to convince you that you've lived this way long enough, so why change now? But you know better. Because something inside you, something wiser, deeper, quieter, knows that your life is meant for more than reaction and disarray. You must become stronger than the voice that wants to postpone. Postponement is the enemy of progress. It is the thief of dreams, the quiet destroyer of potential. Every time you say, "I'll do it later," you are Ying the version of yourself that is capable, powerful, and aligned. But every time you say, "I'll do it now," you are accelerating your own evolution. Do it now. Organize now. Sort now. Clean now. Decide now. Because action creates clarity, and clarity creates momentum. And momentum is the force that transforms your life. Once you feel momentum, even if it's small, you begin to crave it. It becomes easier to continue, easier to build, easier to choose discipline over distraction. Momentum makes the hard things easier because it shifts your identity. You no longer see organization as a task. You see it as who you are becoming. You are transforming into someone who takes responsibility for the direction of your life, someone who does not abandon their environment, someone who does not abandon themselves. Because yes, disorganization is a form of abandoning yourself. It is leaving your future self with the burden of cleaning up what your present self avoided. But order is a form of loving yourself. It is leaving your future self with ease, clarity, readiness. It is passing the torch forward rather than passing the burden. Imagine waking up every day in a space that supports your peace, instead of disturbing it. Imagine opening your schedule and knowing exactly what needs to be done. Imagine having a clear path in front of you because your external world is no longer mirroring internal confusion. That is the gift of organization. That is the reward of discipline. But you must be patient with the process. It will not transform overnight. You did not create the disorder in one day, and you will not heal it in one day. Healing your environment, healing your habits, healing your patterns takes time, but every action matters. Do not underestimate the significance of small wins. Small wins build big lives. The simplest reorganized drawer can trigger a wave of clarity. The smallest completed task can remind you of your capability. The lightly decluttered corner can shift the energy of an entire room. Change accumulates, momentum multiplies, and every act of organization becomes a vote for the life you want to build. You must also understand that organization requires boundaries. Boundaries with your time, boundaries with your energy, boundaries with people who drain you or distract you, boundaries with habits that sabotage you, boundaries with the version of yourself that wants ease over evolution. Every time you choose structure, you are choosing boundaries, and those boundaries protect you from slipping back into the patterns that once dimmed you. Boundaries are not walls, they are clarity. They define what enters your life and what stays out. They preserve your energy for what actually matters. With every boundary you set, you are telling the universe, I value myself enough to protect my life from chaos. And that message echoes outward. People begin treating you differently. Opportunities begin aligning differently. Energy begins flowing differently. The world reflects the order you create. The reason so many feel stuck is because their lives are filled with stagnant energy, unfinished tasks, unmade decisions, unresolved clutter. Stagnation grows in places where energy has nowhere to move. But when you organize, you allow energy to circulate again. You create movement where there once was blockage. You create flow where there once was resistance. And you begin to feel alive again, not overwhelmed, not scattered, not drowning in demands. You feel alive because your environment supports your spirit instead of suffocating it. You feel alive because you are finally participating in your life instead of watching it pull you in directions you never intended. This is what it means to force yourself. Not harshly, not aggressively, but faithfully. It means showing up for the person you are becoming, Even when the person you've been wants to stay comfortable, it means choosing long-term peace over short-term ease. It means taking the reins of your life and guiding them with intention. And as you continue, you will find yourself organizing more than your home, more than your schedule. You will begin organizing your mind. You will catch yourself replacing chaotic thoughts with focused ones. You will silence the noise that once dominated your inner world. You will begin making decisions with clarity rather than confusion. You will trust your intuition more because your mind will no longer be buried under layers of clutter and neglect. Organization cultivates intuition. A quiet environment leads to a quiet mind, and a quiet mind hears the whispers of wisdom that chaos once drowned out. And in that quiet, you will realize that you were never overwhelmed by life. You were overwhelmed by disorganization. You were overwhelmed by the weight of everything you delayed. You were overwhelmed by the responsibilities you scattered across your days without structure. Once they are gathered, sorted, and placed in order, everything becomes lighter. This is the transformation you are stepping into. This is the life awaiting you when you choose order over chaos, intention over drifting, self-respect over avoidance. And as this transformation unfolds, you begin to witness something extraordinary happening within you. You start to realize that order is not just something you create outside of yourself. It becomes something you embody. It becomes a way of thinking, a way of moving, a way of breathing. You stop identifying with the person who once lived among piles of unfinished intentions and start identifying with the person who creates space for clarity, who makes room for purpose, who builds a life intentionally rather than living by default. This internal shift changes everything. It changes how you show up, how you speak, how you respond to challenges. When your life is organized, you meet obstacles with calm instead of chaos. You meet decisions with clarity instead of confusion. You meet opportunities with readiness instead of hesitation. And that readiness becomes one of the most powerful qualities you can carry, because life does not wait for you to prepare. It rewards those who are already prepared. You begin to notice that the world treats you differently when you are organized. People trust you more because they sense your reliability. They feel your presence more deeply because you carry yourself with grounded energy. You stop losing yourself in the frantic rush of trying to keep up, because your life now flows with a rhythm you created intentionally. There is nothing more empowering than knowing you are no longer at the mercy of disarray, that you have taken back the steering wheel and are guiding your life with purpose. And yet, this journey is not just about transforming your environment. It is about transforming your relationship with yourself. For so long, you may have accepted chaos as normal, believed that struggle was part of your identity, convinced yourself that overwhelming days were simply the way life works. But once you break through that illusion and begin choosing order, you discover that the version of you who thrives in clarity has been waiting all along. That version of you is peaceful. That version of you is focused. That version of you is powerful. And each step you take toward organizing your life brings you closer to living from that version consistently. As your environment becomes clearer, you begin to see your own patterns more clearly. You begin to recognize the habits that once kept you stagnant. You begin to understand the emotional weight you used to assign to simple tasks. You begin to notice how procrastination was not laziness, but unprocessed emotion. How avoidance was not weakness, but fear disguised as comfort. And when you see these truths clearly, you can release them compassionately. Organization becomes a mirror, reflecting not only what you need to fix, but what you need to heal. You heal the parts of yourself that believed you weren't capable of maintaining structure. You heal the parts of yourself that felt undeserving of a life that flows with ease. You heal the parts of yourself that once accepted chaos because you didn't and no peace was possible. With every drawer you sort, every plan you make, every space you clean, every boundary you set, you are healing. You are telling yourself that you deserve a life that feels supportive, not suffocating. You deserve a mind that feels clear, not crowded. You deserve a schedule that feels empowering, not overwhelming. You begin to treat yourself with the respect you should have always received. And eventually, the effort that once felt difficult becomes a natural part of your day. The resistance fades. The excuses quiet down. What once felt like forcing yourself becomes effortless devotion to a life that now reflects your inner evolution. The discipline transforms into desire. You no longer have to push yourself because you crave the sense of grounding and direction that organization brings. But before this transformation becomes effortless, it requires devotion. Honest devotion. The kind of devotion that shows up even when you don't feel like it, even when the old habits try to drag you back into their familiar grip. The mind will always choose the familiar over the new unless you guide it. And guiding it requires patience, gentle, persistent patience. You gently guide yourself toward completing what needs to be done. You gently guide yourself toward creating structure where there was once none. You gently guide yourself toward becoming someone who can depend on themselves. This gentle guidance becomes your internal compass. It becomes the voice that leads you through the moments when motivation fades, because it will fade. It becomes the voice that reminds you why you started, who you're becoming, and what your life feels like when it is aligned. Because you know what it feels like when your life is unorganized. You've felt the heaviness in your chest, the fog in your mind, the anxiety that arises from unfinished tasks and unmade decisions. You've lived through mornings where everything feels rushed and evenings where everything feels incomplete. You've felt the heaviness of carrying chaos around like a shadow, but now you're learning what it feels like to step out of that shadow. You're learning what it feels like to breathe easier because your environment supports you. Relearning what it feels like to move through your day with a sense of direction because your tasks have structure. You're learning what it feels like to trust yourself because you no longer abandon what needs your attention. When you organize your life, you eliminate the hidden stressors that once consumed your energy. You stop wasting time searching for things you misplaced. You stop feeling overwhelmed by tasks because they now have a place in your schedule. You stop feeling guilt over what you've postponed because you no longer postpone it. You reclaim time. You reclaim clarity. You reclaim your mental peace. And the more you reclaim, the more alive you feel. You start waking up with purpose. You start moving with intention. You start feeling proud of the person you're becoming. And this pride is not rooted in ego. It is rooted in alignment. It is rooted in the realization that you are finally treating your life as something sacred. Sacredness is not found in perfection. It is found in presence. And an organized life makes presence possible. When your world is disorderly, your mind is always in the future or the past, thinking about what you forgot, what you need to do, what you should have done, what you must catch up on. But when your life is organized, your mind returns to the moment. You become more aware, more attentive, more alive. Organization is a doorway to presence. Presence is a doorway to peace. Peace is a doorway to power. Everything you desire, joy, clarity, success, connection, flows from presence, and presence blooms in an environment that feels orderly. This is why forcing yourself to organize your life is not a punishment, it is preparation. You are preparing your life for breakthroughs you cannot yet see. You are preparing your environment for blessings that require space. You are preparing your mind for opportunities that need clarity. You are preparing your heart for peace that needs stillness. When you organize your life, you are creating the conditions necessary for transformation. You are planting seeds for a future that will unfold more smoothly because you've removed the obstacles of disorder. Life begins rewarding those who prepare, and as you organize more deeply, you begin to see your priorities more clearly. You begin to distinguish what truly matters from what only distracts. You begin to see where your energy is best invested. You begin to understand which people support your growth and which ones pull you back into chaos. Organization brings clarity to your relationships, your goals, your habits, your purpose. You no longer chase everything, you choose intentionally. You no longer say yes to everyone. You honor your boundaries. You no longer waste your time, you protect it fiercely. This is the power of being organized. Your life becomes intentional rather than accidental. Intentional living leads to inner freedom, because freedom is not the absence of structure. Freedom is the presence of the right structure, the structure that protects your energy, enhances your clarity, supports your growth, and aligns with your purpose. Once you experience this kind of freedom, you refuse to return to the chaos that once drained you, and perhaps the greatest gift of all is the calm that settles into your spirit. A calm so deep that the world feels different. A calm so steady that your challenges no longer overwhelm you. A calm so grounding that your life begins to reflect the order within you. This calm becomes your new foundation. You walk differently. You speak differently. You think differently. You respond differently. You live differently. This is the transformation that awaits you. This is the life you begin building the moment you choose to force yourself, lovingly, faithfully, to organize you. Our life. And as this calm begins to anchor itself within you, you start noticing a profound shift in how you approach each new day. Instead of waking up and feeling pulled in 100 different directions, you rise with a quiet sense of direction. You rise knowing what matters. You rise with fewer scattered thoughts, fewer frantic impulses, fewer moments lost in confusion. Because when your life is organized, your mind receives permission to breathe, to soften, to trust its own guidance. You begin understanding that organization is not about controlling life. It's about creating space so life can unfold with more grace. A cluttered life suffocates possibilities. A structured life invites them in. And the more you adopt this structure, the more opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere. Doors open without force. Conversations flow without effort. Projects move forward without resistance. What once felt impossible begins feeling achievable because your inner world is no longer battling the weight of disorder. You start seeing that the universe has always wanted to give you more, but there was never any room to receive it. You were too full of unfinished tasks, full of misplaced items, full of overwhelm, full of chaotic thoughts. But now you are clearing space, not just in your home or your schedule, but in your mind and spirit. And creation loves space. Inspiration loves clarity. Abundance loves preparation. You begin to understand that every act of organization is an act of alignment. When you clear a space, you align your environment with your intentions. When you map out your day, you align your time with your purpose. When you tidy your surroundings, you align your mind with focus. And with every act of alignment, your life becomes more coherent, more meaningful, more centered. This coherence begins to reflect in the decisions you make. You no longer say yes to commitments that drain you because you now see how valuable your space and time are. You no longer engage in habits that sabotage you because they no longer match the person you are becoming. You no longer tolerate chaos, external or internal, because your spirit now recognizes order as its natural state. And the more you embrace this way of living, the more you begin to feel connected to a deeper intelligence within you. A quiet intelligence that knows when to rest and when to act, when to release and when to build, when to let go and when to lean in. This intelligence was always present, but it was drowned out by the noise of disorder. Now, as your life becomes quieter, your inner wisdom grows louder. You find yourself making decisions not from fear, but from clarity. You navigate challenges not from panic, but from presence. You move through your days with a sense of deep assurance, an assurance that comes from knowing you are no longer working against yourself. Because when your life is disorganized, you spend most of your time battling your own environment. You battle the mess, the forgotten tasks, the misplaced items, the scrambled schedules. And this constant battle exhausts you. It leaves you depleted before you've even begun the day. But when you organize your life, you remove these battles. You make peace with your environment. You make peace with your responsibilities. You make peace with your mind. This peace becomes your strength. And with that strength, you begin tackling things you once avoided. You start addressing the projects you kept postponing. You confront the habits you once excused. You make decisions you used to fear. And with each completed task, with each moment of follow-through, you are building an internal structure that will carry you far beyond anything you've previously known. It is not the large, dramatic actions that transform your life. It is the small, repeated ones. The simple acts of organization that seem too insignificant to matter but collectively change everything. It is the decision to clean one corner today, the decision to answer one message, the decision to plan tomorrow before it arrives. These small acts create momentum, and momentum is the invisible force behind all lasting transformation. There comes a moment in this journey when you realize you are no longer forcing yourself, you are following yourself. You are following the version of you who already lives the life you desire. That version who breathes easier, thinks clearer, moves with purpose. The version who looks around their space and feels harmony instead of heaviness. The version who is no longer weighed down by what they avoid. This version has always been waiting for you, not in some distant future, but in the choices you make each day. And through organization, through small acts of order, you are finally stepping into the life that version has been living all along. You start noticing that your creativity increases. Ideas come more naturally because your mind is no longer cluttered with mental debris. Your emotional resilience strengthens because you are not constantly overwhelmed by unfinished tasks. Your energy becomes more stable because you're no longer operating in reactive mode. You begin experiencing life not as a series of problems to fix, but as a flow to move with. You begin honoring your time differently. You see it as a currency, precious, finite, powerful. You no longer waste it in spaces that drain you. You no longer give it away to people who do not respect it. You no longer spend it on habits that diminish you. Organization teaches you the value of your time because it helps you see how often it was slipping through your fingers before. And when you protect your time, you protect your life. You start scheduling your days with intention. You stop rushing. You stop multitasking your way through everything. You bring full presence to each task because each task finally has its place. And this sense of place is what allows your mind to relax. It no longer has to juggle endless reminders. It no longer has to store the weight of every unfinished responsibility. Your schedule becomes a container that holds your tasks, and in doing so, frees your mind from carrying them. This mental freedom feels like oxygen. You begin noticing how deeply you had been suffocating under the weight of disorganization. You begin noticing how much mental space you now have. Space for new ideas, space for new dreams, space for reflection, space for rest. Rest is finally possible because your mind is no longer racing. You sleep more peacefully because you're not lying awake thinking about everything you forgot to do. You wake up with more energy because your morning is not consumed by trying to piece things together at the last minute. You move through your day without constantly feeling behind because your life is finally organized enough to support your rhythm. And perhaps the most beautiful part of all is that you begin extending this organization to your inner world. You start organizing your thoughts, choosing which ones deserve your attention and which ones no longer serve you. You start organizing your emotions, acknowledging them, understanding them, giving them space without letting them spill into every corner of your life. You start organizing your habits, creating routines that nurture growth instead of chaos. The inner organization becomes as important as the outer, because your environment reflects your mind, and your mind reflects your environment. When both align, your life begins to unfold with effortless synchronicity. You start realizing how much of your suffering came from fragmentation, fragmented tasks, fragmented thoughts, fragmented energy. But through organization, everything begins to integrate. You begin feeling whole. You begin showing up whole. There is a coherence to your existence that you may have never experienced before. This coherence attracts new experiences. Opportunities that once passed you by now find you because your life finally has space to receive them. Relationships become healthier because you are no longer bringing the stress of disarray into every interaction. Your sense of self deepens because you no longer define yourself by the chaos you once lived in. Organization becomes a form of self-respect. Self-respect becomes a form of power. And that power shapes your life in ways that transform you from the inside out. Every time you choose order, you rewrite your identity. You remind yourself that you deserve clarity, you deserve peace, you deserve a life that supports the best in you, and each day as you continue to organize your world, you begin to realize that you are not simply creating structure, you are creating a life that matches the truth of who you are becoming. You are building a foundation for the future you desire. You are preparing yourself for the extraordinary. When you finally decide to step into the order that has been calling your name all along, you begin to realize that you were never asked to become someone different, only to return to who you were always meant to be. The moment you choose clarity over chaos, intention over impulse, and inner peace over outer noise, life starts arranging itself around your new way of being. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable, what once felt confusing becomes clear, and what once felt scattered begins to align with a quiet precision you didn't know you were capable of creating. There will be days when the old patterns tug at your sleeve, inviting you back into the familiar disarray. But you will recognize that those invitations are remnants of a self you have outgrown, echoes from a chapter you are no longer reading. You will breathe, center yourself, and remember that the power to organize your life is the same power that organizes your thoughts, your emotions, and the direction in which you allow your energy to flow. And in that remembering, you reclaim the authority you have always possessed, the ability to shape your environment as a reflection of the world you desire to build within. As the pieces of your life begin to fit into place, not all at once, but steadily, intentionally, you start to feel something deeper than accomplishment. You feel harmony. You feel a quiet pride that doesn't boast but simply acknowledges the truth you chose to rise. You chose to act. You chose to reorganize the canvas of your existence so that your life could finally mirror the promise you carried inside. And so, as you stand at this new threshold, aware of how far you have come and how much more you are capable of becoming, let this truth accompany you forward. The order you create today becomes the freedom you enjoy tomorrow. The structure you build becomes the foundation on which every dream can stand, and the commitment you make to yourself, again and again, even on the most ordinary days, becomes the silent force that shapes your destiny with unwavering certainty. Your life is ready for you to arrange it, to honor it, to elevate it. And now, with a clearer mind and a renewed spirit, you are more prepared than ever to step into that responsibility with grace, purpose, and unwavering inner power.